Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. Today's video is going to be my April reading recap. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and start off the same way I always do with these recap videos and take you through the books from my least favorite to my favorite. In the month of April, I read 11 books. Many of them have since been returned to the library, so I'll put the cover picture right here. And let's go ahead and just roll right through. Now, for a lot of these, I did not vlog them, so I'll give like a little quick synopsis, I guess, of my feelings. And then the ones that I vlogged, I will link the vlogs up above and down below so you can check them out if you are curious. So coming in at number 11 was Alex, which is a novella in the Delirium series by Lauren Oliver. I gave this one 2 stars. I didn't really think it was anything all that spectacular. It is a direct follow-up from Delirium from Alex's point of view and just talks about what he goes through. So 2 stars for that one. At number 10 was The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This was the April Literally Dead book club selection. I did not really like this one. It was a little too over the top for me. There were parts of it that dragged on for longer than I felt like they needed to, and I really did not like the ending, nor did I like many of the characters. So 2 stars for this one, not my favorite. At number 9 is The Clue of the Tapping Heels by Carolyn Keene. This is the 16th Nancy Drew book, I think. 16th, 17th, 16th. And I gave this one 3 stars. Decent mystery. If you are keeping track of Nancy's innumerable talents, she suddenly also is fantastic at tap dancing, and that plays a part in this mystery. So 3 stars for this one. Coming in at number 8 is Artemis, Wild Goddess of the Hunt by George O'Connor. This is the 9th book in his Olympians graphic novel series, focusing obviously on Artemis. This one was not my favorite. I gave it 3.5 stars. The artwork, as always, is phenomenal. He chooses really simple color palettes for each of the gods that kind of like coincide with what they're known for. So since Artemis is kind of tied in with the moon, her pictures were done in a lot of blues and silvers and things like that. Really nice illustrations, but I didn't love how this one was told. It wasn't really told from Artemis's point of view. It was told from other people's point of view, and I just didn't like that narrative choice as much in this one, so I just gave this one 3.5 stars. Coming in at number 7 was The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is a book from my 23 and 2023 list. I liked this one. Very slow moving, very character driven, not plot driven, which I did not have a problem with, but it just kind of was, I don't know, kind of like a lazy read. So it took a while to get through. I was listening to the audio, which helped me get through it a little bit faster than it would have had I tried to read it physically, but definitely kind of meandering in the storytelling, not a whole lot of action until you get more towards the end of the book, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. This just perhaps wasn't my favorite book that I've read by her. I preferred her Monk and Robot series a lot more. Coming in at number 6 is The Spite House by Johnny Compton. This was the March pick for the Literally Dead book club. I finally caught up on the Literally Dead book club picks. I'm giving this one 3.5 stars as well. I feel like the narrative choice to have a bunch of chapters told from a bunch of different people's points of view kind of slowed the story down a little bit. It kind of did some repetition because you would have something happen and then you'd hear that same exact thing from someone else's point of view. So I felt like there was a little bit too much repetition and it kind of really slowed the story down. I liked the overall story a lot. I liked the main character a lot, which was the dad of the family who was supposed to be like staying in the house. I liked his nuclear family a lot, but kind of the other points of view just weren't my favorites, but I am giving it 3.5 stars. At number 5 was the 3rd Finlay Donovan book, Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun by Elle Cosimano. This was the February pick for the Literally Dead book club, and I'm giving it 4 stars. I personally felt like it was still just as much of a romping good time as the previous two books. It was perhaps a little bit more over the top than the previous two had been. The first is still my favorite, but I did ultimately enjoy the story, even if I'm not a fan of kind of the twist that occurs at the end and what it means going forward. But I'm still going to continue reading the books because I do think Finlay and Vero are absolutely hysterical and I enjoy reading their stories. And now we're going to get to the books that I actually own. So coming in at number 4 is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This was a reread. I annotated this. I did a whole vlog with me annotating that. I'll link it up above if you'd like to check it out. This was the first time that I'd really tried to annotate a book, so it was kind of an interesting reading experience. As I said, this was a reread. My rating did not change. I felt like the first part of the book is kind of slow. It takes about until the halfway point for anything of substance to happen, but I still really enjoyed the book, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the series pretty quickly here, hopefully. But 4 stars for this one. Coming in at number 3 is Tiger Lily by Jodi Lynn Anderson. This is a Peter Pan retelling focusing on Tiger Lily, but it's told through the point of view of Tinkerbell. So interesting narrative choice. I feel like because it's told through Tinkerbell's point of view, you perhaps don't get as connected as you could have to Tiger Lily herself. So I did give this one 4 stars. This is another one that was very slow. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it took a long time to get through this book. So that was not my favorite. I prefer a book that has like a decent pace. This one is very slow burn, very slowly paced. And there were some things that I didn't love about it, but ultimately I am giving it 4 stars. It did make me cry, but the pacing keeps me from being able to give it 5 stars. Coming in at number 2 is the other book that I vlogged in the month of April, and that is Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour. So I will link that one up above, but this was a 5-star read. I read this kind of as an experiment to see if I could officially call Nina LaCour a favorite author. Spoiler, yes. So this one is kind of like a ghost story. We're following a girl who grew up in foster care. She moves onto this kind of remote, isolated farm to be a teacher for a family who takes in foster children, and she's a teacher for some of those foster children. It's a lot to do with confronting your past and kind of learning to heal, and I really liked it. It did make me cry. This is nice and short. It did not take too terribly long to read, and I did give this one 5 stars. This was the other book for this month on my 23 and 2023 list. And coming in at number 1, which is my favorite book of the month, and that is The Good Left Undone by Adriana Trigiani. This is a historical fiction book and a present time book because you're flipping between viewpoints. So we're following Matilda. Matilda is the mother of, or the matriarch of a family. She is nearing the end of her life, and she is telling her mother's story to her granddaughter. And it made me cry, y'all. This was fantastic. Really loved this. I'm looking forward to reading more from this author, but this is my kind of historical fiction. It kind of had the dual timeline, which worked really well for me. I really grew to love every character in this book and just would highly recommend this if you like historical fiction. 5 stars, by far my favorite, and I would recommend the audio. It is full cast, so check that out if it at all sounds interesting, because I don't think you'll regret it. So that is my little rundown of everything that I read. So now let's go ahead and talk about some stats. So as I mentioned, in April, I read a total of 11 books. That was a total of 2,998 pages read. I did 1 reread, and the rest were all new to me books. The breakdown of the books was 2 ebooks, 3 physical books, and 6 audiobooks. I also read 6 series books, one of which I decided to DNF, which was A Long Way are The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I don't have any interest in continuing that series, so I am DNFing that one. I also read 5 standalone books because I am trying to increase the number of standalones that I'm reading because I am very heavy on the series books this year just because of some overarching goals that I'm trying to meet. Now the genre breakdown, there's a lot going on here. So I read 2 fantasy books, 2 historical fiction books, and 2 sci-fi books. And then I read 1 each of mystery, magical realism, dystopian, horror, mythology, and thriller. So lots of different genres going on in April. I read 5 young adult books, 1 children's book, which was the Nancy Drew book, and 5 adult books. And then I also read 4 new to me authors and 7 returning authors. So that's kind of the breakdown of the books that I read. In terms of some of the goals I'd set for myself at the end of March, which if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll link my first quarter reading recap up above because in that I go over some goals that I've set for myself for the next part of the year. And one of those goals was to read at least 1 book of the month book per month for the remainder of the year, which I did do in April with The Good Left Undone. I also finally caught up on the Literally Dead book club. As you saw, I read all 3 of the books that have been for this year, all in the last month, so I'm finally caught up on that. And I continued to stay up to date on the buzzword challenge because I read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and the buzzword for April was emotion, and emotion in the title, so angry was my emotion. So that's a look at everything that I read in the month of April. Again, I will leave links to everything I mentioned down below if you'd like to watch those other videos. Other than that, we're gonna go ahead and sign off for this one. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me. And I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.